Listen, first off, an IPO is a milestone, it's not a destination. Having Nvidia invest in Cohesity was more important than IPO, okay? Because like to me, having the influence of Nvidia, now we've got not just great venture investors like Sequoia, SoftBank, Carlyle, Valley, and so on, but we've got incredible corporate investors. We've got Nvidia, we've got Amazon, AWS, we've got Google, we've got Cisco, we've got IBM, 5 really good tech investors who are collaborating with us to ensure we're successful. I've done this at SAP, I've done this at VMware. There comes a good time to potentially do an entry to the capital markets. We'll do it when the time is right.
Welcome to another bonus episode of the Tech Brew Ride Home podcast. I'm Brian McCullough, as always. Today we are talking to Sanjay Poonen, CEO of Cohesity. Sanjay, thanks for coming on to talk to us today.
Thank you, Brian. Great to be on your show.
Let's start with the headline. I believe Cohesity just finished the combination with Veritas' data protection business. I'm curious, in your mind, what was the core strategic bet behind that move? Like, what did you believe you'd be able to do together that neither company could do alone?
Yeah, I think it's very simple. When I got to the company 3 years ago, Cohesity had the best tech in the industry. I talked to many of the customers. These were VMware customers who I'd known very well, one of the biggest banks, and they said, nobody had built a platform like Moed that for zero trust security, combining backup and, kind of an immutable platform. Speed of recovery was second to none. It was the best platform. But it had been successful mostly in North America. I think 80% of our revenue was there. And we were number 7 in the market. You're kind of disrupting a market, but you have to grow in revenue. Market share is measured by revenue. And my view was that for us to accelerate faster, meaning get an international presence, and get to number 1, an organic move to consolidate the market. It's a very crowded market, lots of players, 50 players at the top of the market share space. Many of them are like single-digit percentage points from each other. So there was an opportunity to acquire the net backup business, the enterprise business from Veritas. And for us, we didn't need tech because we had the best platform. So we were going to really bake our platform, but net backup as a data mover was a good data mover and lots of bells and whistles put on our file system and our zero trust immutable platform would be an incredible combination. And we were able to construct a deal which was one of the deals of the century in terms of the way in which we were able to extract that out, do a carve out. And now we're number 1 in market share. The IDC market shares just came out for the first time of 2025, which is the first year we've actually been together. We announced the deal last year and then closed it in December. And so it shows us number 1. And now we have to take that. We went from about 4,500 customers on December 9th, the day before we closed this deal, to 13,000 customers now. And, almost 50% of our business international. A lot of those customers now have a bright future. The net backup customers to next generation platform. And to the Cohesity customers, we have twice the engineering team to work on innovation because we're now building connectors to all these workloads with a common engineering team. So all in, I think it's a fantastic proposition to both sides' customers. We were able to sort out the roadmap, no customer left behind. And in some senses, competitively, a lot of these Veritas customers were leaking out to competitors. We put a moat around them, and we feel like the oxygen supply of those customers defecting to a competitor is also stopped. And that's great. So we feel good about the future. It makes us also, from a final dynamic of profitability, Cohesity was growing very fast, but not very profitable. Veritas was growing slower, but immensely profitable. Put the two together, you have a profitable growth company.
Right, but speaking of customers, let's imagine I'm a CIO listening right now, and I'm thinking, okay, what does this actually change for me because of this deal? What would you say to them?
Yeah, let's take 3 categories of customers. Someone who's a Cohesity customer, someone who's a net backup customer, and someone who's net new, okay? So if you're a Cohesity customer, you're like, oh my gosh, you've got a bigger engineering team to work on innovation for me. Nothing's changing my platform. Data Protect, the core platform saying, I have now twice as many engineers, connectors to all these workloads. Speed of innovation goes faster. Oh, they love that. And, 4,500 customers of Cohesity are going to see innovation. For example, we've released things in security and AI, more workloads, and it's happening really fast. Some of those customers want to also modernize their older platforms, which may have been net backup or others. They're able to now modernize the Data Protect. If you're a net backup customer, so 4,500, that first patch, so to speak, about 9,000, net backup as a data mover lives forever. But net backup is now going to sit on top of the Cohesity file system platform coming out this month, and that is an incredible innovation that nobody else can do. You can't put net backup on top of the platform of one of our competitors. Okay, in many cases, they don't have a platform. And that's not mandatory that they move off. So, for example, some customers are running net backup on top of data domain. They could keep using that. But in many cases, if you wanted to move net backup to Cohesity or Rubrik or Veeam, it was disruptive. Now you can, in the evolution of net backup in the next version, you can keep using net backup as a data mover, but running on our platform. And all of this will work from one management console, the Cohesity console called Helio. So that's beautiful in net backup customers. They just keep paying us their maintenance, and they get, in essence, data protect the underlying platform for free. I mean, as part of the upgrade. And to the third base, they don't have to worry about any of this sort of transition. They're just getting kind of the net new code base, which is sort of inherently what Cohesity had built. So we have a very good roadmap for all three of those CIOs, whether they came from Heritage Cohesity, Heritage Net Backup Veritas, or a net new one. And that's what we've been doing the last 10 months, and the ones we had to really take care of was that list in the middle. The Heritage Veritas customers needed to know for certainty that there was no risk to their platform, and it's been great. And that's why we've been seeing no defections. In the past, that middle category had a lot of risk because they were trying to figure out how to modernize. Cohesity and other competitors were competing against them. That competition now has become a very collaborative discussion about their go-forward roadmap. And I've had a chance now to talk to all the high net worth net backup customers. When I say that, the people who are spending $1 million ARR on us or 100K ARR or higher. And those are fantastic customers who love what we're doing for them because they're now getting innovation that they weren't seeing as much from Veritas, which we're now bringing to them from Cohesity.
Let me ask you a few sort of like broad, like macro questions about security. I think I've heard you say recently that you're saying to folks now, assume you will be attacked and focus on fast recovery. Is recovery actually more important than prevention at this point?
Yeah, I think if you think about the NIST framework, right? Detect, prevent, recover, remediate. That's sort of the security framework NIST. And I've been in the security industry 15 years. If anything, I'm much more security person. I was an investor in that in between my years at VMware to acquired businesses at AirWatch, Carbon Black. So I know the space very well and have, hundreds and thousands of CIOs and CISOs I've talked about this over years. The analogy I would use is very similar. There's a lot of parallels in security with the healthcare industry. So imagine during the pandemic, COVID, someone came and told you, I'm never going to get the virus. I said, okay, that's great. I want some of your immunity. So you have incredible immunity. The more relevant question isn't that you're not going to get the virus. If you get it, or maybe in many cases, it's a matter of when that you get it, how quickly can you recover? So you were out for a day or two and you came back as opposed to having to be in the hospital on a ventilator for weeks and months. And it's very similar in security. When you have a sort of a exercise and a posture that says, we're going to be attacked, okay? So let's prepare for the scenario where we are going to get attacked and prove to our company, to our management, to our board, and maybe even to external shareholders that we practice remediation. Then, we believe it's a matter of when rather than if that every company is going to get attacked. Then you're prepared to say, I've caught all my applications. My category 0 apps will come back in an hour. My category 1 apps will come back in a day. My category 2 apps will come back in a week. My category 3 apps will come back in a month, and the rest I don't care about. Okay, it's a lot like earthquake preparedness, fire preparedness, or a health test, right? So we instruct our clients, having seen cyber attacks in practically every industry, Colonial Pipeline, United Healthcare Group. There's a number of industries: healthcare, oil and gas, financial services, hospitals, school districts. Recently I came back from Japan. Asahi was hit there. Some of the retailers, and then, Land Rover in UK. So when you see this happening, you have to basically say, I'm going to resume a posture that I am going to get attacked. And the more important procedure, which we do really well, is focus on rapid recovery, cyber recovery of your data. And that's certainly something that has distinguished Cohesity from the get-go of the 12-year history of this company.
I've also heard you say that you've been warning folks that a lot of employees still will not report a suspected cyber incident, at least like right away. Number one, culturally, why do you think that is? And then number two, how should companies think about fixing that with their employees?
Yeah, I think first off, you do need detection and prevention exercises. These are like early warnings. So we work with Mandiant, now part of Google, Google Threat Feeds, CrowdStrike, Palo Alto, Microsoft. These are companies who send feeds to us, and they think of them like the World Health Organization and us, disease control for our particular universe. And then we have an event response team. It's called CERT, Cyber Event Response Team. That's like a mini incident response team focused on data protection and data use cases that works very closely with the incident response teams of Mandiant, Unit 42, inside Palo Alto and others, and ensures that we're constantly giving our customers, we offer that service for free to our customers, especially, for example, now in Cyber Awareness Month, you're going to see a higher incidence, and we give those people a lot of best practice. So it's a little bit like calling a health service that you have, a concierge service that's going to give you advice on how to handle. So I'll give you one example of a very good piece of advice. We give our customers, you should have 3 copies of your data, with your third copy always being in a bunker called an air gap cyber vault. We have a cyber vault called Fort Knox. It's one of the best cyber vaults. It won the gold medal at a conference, I think a year or two ago. It's the best in the industry. It can run AWS, Azure, in clouds or on-prem. That practical example of the 3 copies. So often we find a cyber attack happens with the first copy, and sometimes the second copy gets corrupted effective. The third copy, though, being in an air gap, meaning disconnected to your network bunker, is safe, and you could recover from there. So things of those kinds, and then I can go through. We have an entire 5-step cyber resilience process that we encourage our people to go through. It's like a 5-step health process. You do these 5 things. It doesn't mean that you're going to be completed, but the likelihood that you can recover much faster is there. So these are things, a lot of it is not just about product we find. It's about process, about educating our clients on best practice. And as the market share leader in this space, you have to develop great product and, of course, take care of your customers. But a good part of this is thought leadership and client best practice that, we constantly, and having people like Kevin Mandio on our board. We have a fantastic security advisory council led by Dave DeVault, who's been one of the best security minds in the industry. It has great people like Alex Stamos, who was the CISO at Facebook on it. We have these CISOs, and I'm constantly looking for other security people to advise us because they have great amount of experience. We just did, for example, a security advisory council meeting and people like Dave DeVault and Alex Stamos and Kevin Mandio. You get smarter on a topic because you surround yourself with people who are extremely savvy and themselves are talking. And by the way, they do the same thing with the government. We work with agencies of the government. We have a very successful government business, both in the federal defense departments and civilian. And we have contacts that are helping the United States stay free. But we're very strong in almost all the big NATO-friendly countries where the governments of UK, they use our technology. And a lot of the things that we're learning in the US government could be helpful to many of the governments because many of these attacks are nation state actors.
Gaia is your AI agent, I believe, that you've introduced into this. When you bring in AI into, I think it reasons over background data. When you bring AI into this mix, how do you mitigate hallucinations or like data governance risks when you're using AI?
Yeah, it's a good question, Brian. The way, just back up for a second, how we began to motivate ourselves for data. If you think about, our mission is to protect, secure, and provide insights into the world's data. So if you think of data like an iceberg, the top of the iceberg is hot data, which is active, that you're dealing with day to day. And as that data ages, okay, it becomes what's called backup or secondary data, archive, vaulted data. It's all older data, but it's a time series index of everything you have. Now, the value of that data, and by the way, we have the largest amount of secondary data that we protect, 200 exabytes, bigger than all of our competitors put together. Now, the value of that is not just keeping it safe in a bunker, but being able to then get insights from that for a company. It's not our data, it's the company's data. So initially we built this technology where it was searchable and so on and so forth, but it was 12 years ago that people weren't talking generative AI. But the founders of our company are ex-Google folks, so they built it to be, kind of, I might say, search ready or analytics ready. Generative AI comes out 2 years ago. I was playing with ChatGPT, and it dawned on me that if we could make our data available to these LLMs, maybe we could allow people to query this. Yes, and we'll get to the governance aspect of it and responsibility and hallucination in a second. So I had been friends with Jensen for years because he'd helped us at VMware quite a bit. I reached out to him and I reached out to Satya Nadella and Microsoft, and they opened my eyes to this technology called RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. I had no idea what it was. If you'd asked me what RAG was 2 years ago, I'd have said it's a piece of cloth you wipe your windshield with. But I was able, we came back, we studied that technology, kept it under stealth, and we were the first to build a RAG-based capability directly on top of backup. So now you can build embeddings, vector databases that goes at your data and can search, summarize that. And you could have, for example, let's say you have 200 million PDFs, which has lots of vendor documents, contracts, other people. You can say, please summarize over the last 10 years, across my 200 million PDFs, all the discounts, the years, patterns of years of agreement, all of those contract in a nice table for me. Now, how does it not hallucinate? First off, these retrieval augmented generation is first off, it's doing the retrieval augmentation, the RA, on your data. It's building embeddings. It's not some third-party random data. It feeds the result set to the G of RAG, which is an LLM. And the LLMs are getting better and better at not hallucinating. And then the final part of your question was, how do you ensure that the wrong person does not get access to that data? So we have a responsible AI framework which allows you to only access the data that you could recover. So example, if you are not allowed to read that document in a recovery process, remember it's inside our backup, you shouldn't be allowed to query that data. And it builds a very sophisticated kind of responsibility, security privileges. So both the first part of the question, which is how does hallucination offer, and how does you ensure that there's security to the data that comes back, is very much a key part to what we call a responsible AI framework for Gaia.
Final question. Let's talk about IPOs. The industry's really sort of busy right now. Like Rubrik is public, and there's been hints that 2026 is a realistic window for y'all to possibly go public. But I've read you also said that you believe that if you did go public, you'd want a valuation comparable to Rubrik, which is around like 15 to $17 billion. Why do you believe Cohesity deserves Rubrik level or better in terms of a public market valuation?
Listen, first off, an IPO is a milestone, it's not a destination. I've been officer of a public company, 8 years at VMware, 8 years at SAP, did many, many earnings calls. You had to, so for us, it's not the destination, it's an important milestone of an independent company. We'll do it when it's right. But we've got very good numbers, right? We're number one in market share. I think Rubrik is number 6 in market share, and our size and profitability and combination of growth and profitability is one of the best in the industry. So at the right point in time, the markets, aided by analysts and so on, will value that. We think we have a sense of what that valuation is, but we're not fixated on that point. We're just basically right now building a great company that goes, we can see eyesight to $2 billion in revenue. Okay, that's kind of in our near-term future. Like it could come soon. And then we want to create a $5 billion revenue company, which has never been done in this space. And as you do that, the valuation will be with the valuations. Yes, the benchmarks of both in our space, 2 companies are public, Rubrik and Commvault, give a benchmark to our bankers and others to say, hey, this should be for a company that's bigger and has got good rule of 40 business valuation. You've got 2 benchmarks. So I think whenever you have public companies in space, they just serve as benchmarks for a comparison. And then, if you're bigger, you should hopefully get better metrics than a smaller company. And both Rubrik and Commvault, I think, are number 5 and number 6 in market share. We're number 1. And market share is measured by size of revenue and so on. So we'll let the valuation perspective talk. But when that's ready for us right now, we're very focused on customers and partners. I mean, to me, it was very important, to get this combination together and get new investors like Nvidia. Having Nvidia invest in Cohesity was more important than IPO, okay? Because to me, having the influence of Nvidia. Now we've got not just great venture investors like Sequoia, SoftBank, Carlyle, Belly, and so on, but we've got incredible corporate investors. We've got Nvidia, we've got Amazon, AWS, we've got Google, we've got Cisco, we've got IBM, 5 really good tech investors who are collaborating with us to ensure we're successful. That to me is very important. And then along the way, those investors want return on their money too. They will find the right time when that's doable. And I think that we're building a long-lasting company with incredible, my focus is really on employees first to ensure employees are engaged, building great innovation. especially product innovation, because I'm a product guy at heart. And then second focus is customers, really customer obsession. And along the way, I've done this at SAP, I've done this at VMware. There comes a good time to potentially do an entry to the capital markets. We'll do it when the time is right.